Today we're talking about how a narcissist will try their hardest to set you up for failure. How do they do this? Why do they do this? And what can you do about it? I'm Leah. Thank you so much for stopping by to this channel where we give you tips, tools, meditations, affirmations so that you can live your best life. And we also discuss things that might get in the way of your best life. And one of these big things, especially for empaths, artists, just sweet, sensitive people, are narcissists. The way that they set you up for failure is very creative. See, none of these things are totally on the nose. That's why we have to talk about them. What do I mean by on the nose? So as an acting teacher, as a director, I study human behavior. One of the reasons why I talk about narcissistic abuse, is because I have worked with countless artists, very sweet, caring people who have been abused by narcissists, myself included. So what I'm finding is there's not a lack of talent, there's a lack of self-worth because a lot of people have been severely abused. Now, does it mean that every single person that disappoints you is a narcissist? No. The narcissists love coming out and attacking me, like every single person that you dated that dissed you or something isn't a narcissist. Yes, clearly, that is not what I'm talking about here. And if you follow along any of the videos that I've done, you will know that's not at all what I'm talking about. Nor do I ever claim to have all the answers. And anybody who claims to have all the answers about anything, I advise you to run, because nobody has all the answers about anything. Life is fluid. We are constantly ever evolving. And if you're open to this experience of being human and learning and growing and evolving, which I believe you are, otherwise you wouldn't be here, unless you're one of the narcissists just waiting to attack, you're here to improve. You're here to take responsibility so that you can use your gifts and talents, so that you can live an authentic, vibrant, happy life, that you can also be of service. So no, anybody that disappoints you is not a narcissist. If you want to date somebody and they're not interested in you, doesn't mean that they're a narcissist. If somebody breaks up with you, doesn't mean they're a narcissist. When it does mean that they're a narcissist is when they totally lack empathy, when they blame, when they shame, when they scold, when they gaslight, when they use something that we're talking about today, which is called reactive abuse. So how a narcissist will set you up for failure, the way that they try so hard to set you up for failure, one of the many creative tactics that they use, and this is sort of the last tactic if none of the others have worked, gaslighting and discarding, devaluing, love bombing. They've already run the gamut of all of those. The biggest card that they pull is reactive abuse. What is reactive abuse? Reactive abuse is when an abuser abuses you to the point where you finally explode, where you have a low vibration reaction. Because naturally, narcissists are attracted to empathic people. Empaths are not some fairy tale mystery hippy dippy thing. Empaths are just people who have empathy above and beyond their own comfort level. Meaning, if you're an empath, you've learned to put the needs of somebody else above yours at all times. This is very confusing sometimes because we're taught to treat others how we would want to be treated, to put the needs of somebody else above you is very noble, and that's a good thing. And so as an empathic person, it's compounded because you are shamed for not putting other people first. You're shamed for putting yourself first. So you learn, most likely from childhood, because this is where this happens often, that your needs don't matter. And so in order to protect yourself, you put the needs of somebody else first. After a lifetime of doing this, or after a course of doing this in a relationship, at some point you might get fed up. You might get fed up with the insults, the devaluing, the gaslighting, the blanket non-truths that are just smothering you to death almost, that one day you just explode. And the narcissist loves that. They want that. Because see, then they can run off to all their old and new supply, all of their flying monkeys, their whole committee, and say, see, I told you, that person is not stable. That person is mentally ill. And this is somebody that you loved and maybe still do love. So you've trusted them in confidence with a lot of private information, maybe about your family, maybe about your childhood, because the reason you've attracted somebody like this, very likely you've had this sort of experience in the past. So maybe before they started abusing you, maybe before you realized they were a narcissist, you opened up to them. You shared to them about your past, about maybe what you're learning, maybe something very private that you've learned in therapy about being a codependent or something like that. So then they'll use that against you in their smear campaign and in their defamation of character towards you. And this also tumbles in and rolls into the nice rollout of reactive abuse. And that works perfectly for their plan. Because see, they can take one thing that is true about you. Oh, say your dad left or something when you were young and you disclose that information. So they'll take that one truth that you shared with them and they'll say to other people, oh, you know, he or she is just really unstable because their dad left or their dad did this to them. So they're just very unstable. And then people that know you go, oh, that's true. That part is true. See, it's almost like a magician. They give you enough truths so they can pull off the illusion. And then they'll say something that's totally not true so that it triggers a response in you to react. So maybe your dad left, but never hit you or anything like that. They'll say something like, your dad hit you. Your dad always beat you, and that's what's wrong with you. It's gaslighting because it's not true. Maybe that's just absolutely not true for you. And so then you go into defending your dad who abused you, but just didn't hit you. Now you're like, oh my gosh, no, he didn't hit me. And you get reactive. I'll give you an example. This one man who I was dating, I didn't know he was a narcissist. Yes, I've attracted a lot of narcissists. Don't be jealous. I am now finally, after years of therapy, after years of turning within, after years of looking at what my part is in it, and then continuing to attract them, now I'm talking about it. Because one of the patterns that I didn't change was I didn't talk about it. Because I didn't want this reactive abuse, right? So I know that this is coming when you talk about this stuff. They pounce on you. So reactive abuse is like it's like a gaslighting, telling you a non-truth, you know, something that's just absolutely not true to get you to react. I'll give you a couple of examples of this. So there was this man I was dating. I didn't realize that he was a narcissist until he started gaslighting me and saying things that just absolutely weren't the case. And I'm like, that isn't true. And then he'd say, oh, I didn't say that. And I'm like, you just said that. And I caught it because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gaslighting. He's trying to make me think that my reality is not the reality. So I had to completely cut him off, and I had to extricate myself from the relationship. Now, I did say to him that I was ending the relationship, and I even told him why. And we went around and around. But see, a narcissist is never going to accept responsibility. So that was never good enough for him. He was not going to listen. So I did have closure. I didn't just ghost and abandon. I told him exactly what happened, what I had an issue with, and why I didn't want to speak with him anymore. Well, of course that wasn't good enough for him. So he kept coming after me, letters and emails and text messages, and you're awful and you're terrible, and how are you doing meditations helping people when you're such a, bitch, and you really need help, and just anything to get a reaction. Well, I wasn't responding because I know what he wants. He wants me to react, and all these things are just not true. So for me to just defend like, no, I'm not a bitch, yeah, I am trying to do meditation. I mean, it's just, there's no point to it. So I just didn't respond. I send him love, I do my own work, and I just continue with my life. Well, he wouldn't stop because he's very upset that he's not getting that reaction from me. He's not getting what he wants from me because he couldn't control me. He didn't get what he wants from me because I didn't take the bait for the gaslighting. So he's now spinning out of control. He was just grabbing for straws. So there was a time when I was living with my brother because we had bought this house and it was a disaster. And that's a long story that I'm not going to get into. We bought an investment property and we're like, we're going to live here for a couple years and then turn around and sell it, almost like a flip kind of a situation, right? And there was a guest house in the backyard, and so that's where he stayed, and then my daughter and I were in the main part of the house, and it was a disaster because the house had pipes that were bursting every day, and it was just not a pleasant situation. It ended up being a little strange that my brother and I were living together because everyone thought we were married or something. We're like, no. So that was odd. So of course I shared that with this man that I had been dating because he would come over, and I'm like, yeah, my brother lives in that back area, and we bought this house, and it's just a mess, and we're gonna stay here for a year or two, and then move. Well, of course, when we broke up, and I wasn't reacting to all the things that he was trying to get me, his last final straw was like, well, you're having an incestual relationship with your brother. I was like, okay. I mean, I just had to laugh at that point because it's so absurd. It's so not true that it made me sort of sad for him because I'm like, wow, he thought that was really going to get me. That I was like, oh my God, that's not true. Now, if that had been true, maybe that would have got me to react. If I didn't know about reactive abuse, maybe that would have got me to react because it's absolutely disgusting and it makes my skin crawl. So of course I want to defend that because it's like, makes me want to vomit. But it's just not true. So there's just no point. And he's going to believe whatever he believes. So I just didn't respond. And he can go on with his life. The tricky part sometimes is that you want to protect yourself. You're like, no, that's not true. And I want to say the truth. And it doesn't matter. They're just trying to get a reaction out of you. I was working with a client once. I'm an acting teacher, if you don't know. But it ends up being like a life coach because I use meditation and yoga. And the acting that I teach is all about reading behavior, being present, being in the moment, being truthful, being imaginative. So the beautiful thing about what I teach is that inside of the acting class, in the Meisner technique, you can be reactive. You can be impulsive. You can have this crazy reaction, and it's just good acting. Then it's just good acting. So if you want to let these feelings out in a really healthy way, come into one of my Meisner classes and I can help you. And it's very therapeutic. It's extremely therapeutic, especially if you've been a victim of this narcissistic abuse, because one of the tools that I'm going to teach you about how not to react is really a way to sort of dissociate, which is not very healthy in regular everyday life. You shouldn't be dissociating everywhere you go, shutting down, turning off your feelings. But with a narcissist, it's imperative that you do. It's actually imperative that you do. So then you can come into a Meisner class and actually be explosive and be real and be all these things, so that then you can go into life. And if you're dealing with somebody like that, you actually have to shut down a bit, a lot. You have to become like a robot in their presence and not react. Even when things are really bothering you, even when they come at you with the meanest things, like what that guy said to me. I mean, it's just so, it was mean, it was disgusting, it's not true, but it's like, okay, I'm not going to work off of that. I'm not going to work off of that energy the way that he wants me to. I'm going to come back to myself. So another danger about reactive abuse is that empathic people are already taking all the responsibility. But what do narcissists do? They shovel it on you more. They shovel it on you more. Oh, it's your fault. It's your fault. Why don't you go do more work? Why don't you go do more work? It's your fault. Not everybody who turns you down is a narcissist. Well, of course not. We know that. So at the beginning of this journey, you might go into therapy. Well, your whole life therapy is great. But, you know, at the very beginning, you might go into therapy and like start looking at these things, and you're so introspective that you put all the blame on yourself. You are taking responsibility. By watching a video like this, you're taking responsibility. So you're going to have to learn with people like this that you're going to have to dissociate and shut off a bit. Almost like deer in headlights. Just like, yeah, okay, sure. That's only if you have to speak to these people. I mean, have to. Otherwise, just don't. They're really not healthy people. They're not changing. They're never going to change. That is the most painful part. They're going to keep trying to get you to change, but the way that you change is by becoming reactive, by becoming a ghost of the person you once knew, because you're not going to be able to be you authentically, because you're going to be this image of what this abuser has created of you. It's never going to be good enough. You're always going to be at fault, and they're always going to be lying, cheating, stealing, manipulating, gaslighting, always. That is their MO. So I started doing these 50 signs that you might be dating a narcissist, and I'm doing them on the shorts feed, and some of them are fun and silly and whatever, right? Check them out. Go follow along. I'm posting them every day. And some people are just absolutely irate. Well, your makeup is stupid. Well, we hate you. You're dumb. You've hit the wall. Like, no wonder you're single and nobody wants you. And the vile things that some of these guys say is laughable. But really, I go, wow, it's so sad, because truthfully, what has happened is that you've chosen, when people are choosing to go on the internet, like, I'm going to find somebody uplifting people and tear them down. It really is like good and evil. So a narcissistic person has signed up to just be awful. So they want you to join in on that. If they cannot control you, they will not like you, period. If you do not fall lockstep with what they want, they will not like you. But the whole contradiction of the whole thing, which is absolutely crazy making, is even if you try to please them till you're blue in the face, literally, because you'll be suffocated and almost dead, it won't be good enough for them. Nothing is ever good enough for them. So another example, I was working with a client, and she came to me because she wanted to get in touch with her feelings, because she had to dissociate in life so much and shut down so much because this reactive abuse. Her ex-husband was a diagnosed narcissist, and they had split custody with the kid, with her daughter. Well, this man did the, what is it called? Amber Alert. And he like took her daughter, totally against the law, not on the custody papers or anything like that, right? He took her, he did all this reactive abuse to her, like, you're this, you're that, blah, blah, blah. And as he's driving out the driveway, she's going crazy. She's like, no, don't take my daughter, and you can't do this. He videoed her and then showed everybody, see how unstable she is? See how crazy she is? These people will do this even to a therapist. They'll pull one over on therapists if you're in couples therapy. Sometimes these are church leaders, so they'll have their whole congregation believing them, and they'll say, see how crazy they are? That's why reactive abuse is so dangerous. So what you can do is you can go into one of my Meisner classes so you can actually feel these feelings and react in a really healthy, positive way. Use it to express through the craft of acting. And then in life, meditate. I have hundreds of meditations on this channel, guided and just music, or just sit by yourself. Yoga helps a lot. Doing something creative, watching videos like this, make a comment below, get involved with the community, because you are not alone. You are not alone. So a positive way to react, instead of the way they want you to react, which will just cause more destruction in your life, a positive way to react is by doing what you're doing. Watch a video like this. Gather in community, even if it is online. Say a comment below about how reactive abuse has affected you, how you've overcome it. Notice the sensations in your body when you want to react. The physical sensations. Oh, I'm hot. I feel nervous. My energy is kind of speedy. I wanna pounce. I feel attacked. Start noticing the energies in the body and working with them instead of giving all that power to the abuser. They want you to fail. Why do they want you to fail? Because in their mind, that's how they succeed. Remember, narcissists only feel anger. They only feel resentment. They only can feel that. So the only way they can connect with you is through those emotions. The only way they can connect with you is if you have this reactive, explosive thing. And then they get very calm, because that regulates their emotions for them. It's the only way they feel peace is after they've abused. But you can remove yourself from this cycle. I have lots of tools on this channel to help you. I have tools in my acting studio that can help you in a really imaginative, fun, positive, uplifting way. Because see, then what happens is you share your gifts and talents with the world, and that connects us. And art is what heals. Because we watch a movie, we see a painting, we hear a piece of music of somebody who went through something like this and has come out the other side, and we're connected. We realize we're not alone. You're not alone. You are right on time with your life. You're right on time with your healing. Everything you want is as close as the nose on your face. But you must change your habits. So you're going to have to learn to check in with your feelings. And in a sense, check in with them so you can really feel them, but don't react off of them. So just remember, they have to behave this way. It's the only way they can be. The reason why they want to set you up for failure is because they know they were bad to you. They know that they mistreated you. They know that you didn't deserve that. So they must make themselves feel better. And the only way they can do that is by getting this horrible reaction from you, because then they get this horrible reaction from you, and they can go, see, she's no good. Look at her. She's crazy. My new supply is so much better. And then they'll just do it with the new supply. And then they go, oh, everybody's the same. And then they have to keep cycling through people. So they will do this to everybody. It's just a matter of time. So if you're with a narcissist and this hasn't happened to you yet, you can bet money on this. You can absolutely bet money on this. I could write a script with these people. It's hysterical sometimes, the comments that I get, because I already hear what they're going to say before they say it. The upside of being abused your whole life is that when you've been abused by somebody that you really, really love, and this has happened time and time again, it's really easy to take snarky, mean comments from strangers, because it's like, are you kidding me? I got this from somebody who I care deeply about. You are not going to get to me. The person who I really love and care deeply about, they might have an opportunity to get to you. they might have an opportunity to get to me. And that's why these tools are so important. So therapy, take a class with me, acting class, anything, painting, art. Art can help. Art heals so much. Think about all the people who have written songs that have helped you out of abusive situations, out of heartbreak. So you can express and it can help somebody. You have a creative idea out of this. You might be able to impart wisdom because you've been through this. So it's not for naught, but I wouldn't sign up for more. So don't keep signing up for it. You've learned the lessons. You got this. So please share this video with somebody that you think it might help. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't yet. All right, my camera died, but everything in divine right timing. That's a wrap on this video. So perfect divine right timing. I'll see you next time. So much love to you.